What's good, my people? Welcome into Buckets, Action Network's daily NBA betting podcast. We're in the workshop presented by the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM. Thursday edition of Buckets. You know the deal. Sean Little hosting the thing. J Money is money, aka Mr. Smack City, aka NBA Talk with Jay, aka I Can't Talk You Off It, aka Mr. Revenge Spot in the building. J Money, how you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling good, man. Ready to talk these couple of games, possibly some in-season tournament games with you guys right now.
Yeah, of course. AC, analytics capper, Albert Wynn. I saw my guy at the Garden today. We went to go see Wemby. Wemby didn't show up, but we showed up to check him out. AC, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Wemby had two more air balls than we hit when we did, man. It was a rough start for him, but it was a good game. The Garden was electric. It was good to see you, bro.
Yeah, you too, brother. Atmosphere is always great. You know the deal. We give the play, we give the cap, we get you guys out of here. On the Thursday NBA slate, it is a light slate. We have two ball games. Bucks are going to the Indianapolis to play the Pacers. Right now are minus 3.5. Then we have the Hawks Magic in Mexico City. So this game is not in Orlando. Don't get confused. Number sits at Hawks minus 2.5. AC, I'm going to come to you first. What are you looking at for the Thursday mini slate we got?
Man, I did some Googling, guys. Mexico City is 7,300 above sea level. That's more than Denver, man. That's crazy. I'm gonna go with the Hawks minus 2.5.
J Money is money. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I can't talk them off, man. There's one. If there was one play that I would make on tonight's slate, it would be the Atlanta Hawks. I didn't get there just yet, to be honest with you. I didn't really like the slate, but I would say I give a heavy lean to the Atlanta Hawks.
Hey fellas, y'all know they're not the Silver and the gang not gonna box me in on this schedule on these two games. We're gonna go through them, but I have no official play. I'm printing no slips here. It's an interesting spot with the game being won in Mexico City for Hawks Magic, and then the Bucks off of back to back going to the Pacers, who are gonna try to run you out of the building. That total sits at 242.5. Of course, the initial thought is to go with the over, but I just got no official play on these two games. But we'll talk about them. We'll break them down, and we'll look ahead to Friday, and then we'll get out of here. AC, analytics capper, I'm coming right back to you. Why the Atlanta Hawks international series in Mexico City? Why do you like minus 2.5?
Yeah, it's a great spot for Atlanta. So they played on Monday night. They took the loss against OKC 117-126. They were actually favoring the game, so it's a great spot to bounce back. Orlando on the other side, they played Dallas. They had an amazing first half. They got really unlucky in that second half. Dallas came back and beat them by 15, but they played Dallas really competitively. Before that, they beat the Lakers. Before that, they beat the Jazz. So the Orlando Magic are actually playing really well right now. But I think the spot here is going to be Atlanta because if you look at their head-to-head matchup, Orlando's covered the last two. So we talk about revenge spots. We talk about angles to back a team. I think Atlanta being able to go to Mexico City, I believe a little bit earlier in that elevation, and we know that they're going to play really explosive and quick on offense. I like Atlanta minus 2.5. Some books have it at minus 3. I still like that. So I like the Hawks to win and also cover.
J Money is money. I know you said you lean that way as well. Talk to me.
Yeah, as I always say, I can't talk you off here, man. The Hawks, they've had the Magic's number as well in the last 10 games. They're 8-2 straight up as well, man. So obviously, I feel like they're a little bit deeper team. I've been looking for info to see if Markel Fultz is going to play. They say that he practiced, but like when I saw him, he kind of had that knee stretched out, man. So that kind of tells me that it might be still sore. It's the same knee that he had the ACL injury on as well. So they probably want to take their time with him. They don't really want to force him in there. So I know that it's a big game, but you don't want to possibly cost your whole season for you know what I'm saying, 1 or 2 regular season games. So even though they say he practiced, it was probably a light practice, and I feel like it was probably more likely than not that he probably goes ahead and sit it out. But even if he's in there, I still think that the Hawks have a little bit deeper team in my opinion. But obviously with this game in elevation, these teams don't usually play in Mexico City, so obviously it's going to be, you never know which one of these are going to run out of gas in the fourth quarter here, in my opinion. But I would lean to the Hawks in this particular spot.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Sean, if I could jump in real quick. I mean, so I like that Jay's on my side. It's very similar to the NFL, right? NFL starting to do these like NFL Europe games, and you back the teams that are more comfortable or more experienced in that space. I think Atlanta, being the older team, being the more experienced team, they can handle some of the off the court stuff, whereas Orlando is like, oh my gosh, I gotta check into this hotel. Oh, I gotta order this food in Spanish. Like it's gonna be different, right? So I like Atlanta, even though they haven't been in Mexico City. Them being older, more experienced, more mature, I like them in this spot a lot.
And a lot deeper, right? Especially with how banged up the Magic are.
Right.
For those who don't know, the Atlanta Hawks have 8 guys averaging double figures. We can go down from the top. DeJounte Murray, Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, who I think free DeAndre Hunter. I think he could be a massive piece in a move for a
I've been
contender.
saying
I
that
think
for 2 years.
yeah, he would fit in a lot of different spots. But Jalen Johnson, Bogdanovich, Sadiq Bey,
Yeah.
Okongwu, Capella. So like all the way down, they have guys that are going to contribute across the board. They're deeper for a team in Orlando who's banged up. We got Jonathan Isaac, who's going to be day to day, coming in on Thursday. Gary Harris
He's
is out.
playing.
Fultz is out. Isaac is confirmed.
Yeah, Isaac is probable.
Okay, Isaac is probably, yeah, but Wendell's out. Gary Harris,
Fultz
Markel.
questionable.
Yeah, exactly. So stay tuned on that. That's an interesting play with the international series. It's tough to say that Trae Young is the older, mature guy, but yeah, that is the case in this situation down in Mexico City. Let me ask you this, Jay. AC, I want your opinion on this as well. When you're looking at a spot in elevation, I think typically people's initial lean, the total in this game is sitting at 232. Initially, it's like, oh, they're in elevation, they're going to get tired. I should probably look at an under. But typically, my opinion is when we start to talk about tired 3 games in 4 days, elevation, that's when I start looking at overs because typically guys are tired on D. They're not rotating, they're not switching. There's always a little more energy for offense than there is defense. Are y'all aligned with me on that, or would you be looking potentially at an under here in elevation in an unknown situation down in Mexico City?
What do you think, AC?
Yeah, I was gonna defer to you. I mean, to be honest, when it comes to like tired legs, that might
Yeah,
have more of an impact or influence on the shooting, right? Because we know right now with NBA, the variance with 3-point shooting, like if they're not gonna hit 35 to 40% of their threes, basically it's gonna go under. Like you don't even have to see who's playing. If a team is gonna hit below 30% of their threes, it's most likely going under. So if these guys are not used to the elevation, but I mean they had an extra day of rest with election day, so I think they've acclimated to that, to Mexico City and the elements there. It's hard to say, man. I think it's one of those games where, like for me specifically, I'm gonna be on the Hawks pregame flop. But if you watch that game and you see that, they're just missing a ton of wide open threes, if you see that they're not getting out, and challenge those threes because they're tired, that's when you kind of jump in at halftime. But it's definitely a game where I'm not going to put like 5 units on it, right? It's so many unknowns. You don't want to bet a game that's so coin flippy. But I do like the Hawks just as a side because I know they are top to bottom. They're better in Orlando.
yeah, no
No,
question.
it's a great. Yeah, I wanted to say some. I would lean towards the first quarter under in this one, man. It's just like a college basketball game when they're playing in those tournament games. You want to take the first half under because the players aren't really used to their gym or the sight lines, things like that. Those things matter, especially when it's in elevation as well. So I would target a first quarter under, possibly first half under in this game. And then maybe the pace would pick up in the second half. But I think specifically first quarter, that's where you're going to get the most shock, in, you know what I'm saying, if you will, whatever.
Yeah,
So I
it's
feel like
yeah.
that first quarter under makes a lot of sense.
Both squads trying to get acclimated to what's going on. First quarter line -1.5 for the Hawks, and then the
Did they have
total
a total?
58.5 for the first quarter.
Mm.
So that
I
is an
think that
interesting
first.
angle.
I like that first quarter under. I'm telling you that right now. I think that's the spot. Right there. I mean, obviously they can come out there and you never know it. So look, taking the under with the Hawks is never just like a great idea. But the Magic are a defensive team. I mean, I know they can kind of run and gun it, but they still try to focus on defense. So I'm saying, so maybe they try to slow the pace down and don't get, because you don't really want to go in a track meet with the Hawks. You want to try and throw the defense on them. So I like the first quarter under now, and the 58.5. It might even go up. So I'm saying you could maybe wait till tomorrow, see if some public money comes on that over there, and then take that first quarter under. I think it's a great look.
Speaking of track meets, let's go to Indianapolis. Pacers Bucks right now. The Bucks are coming off a late comeback win against the Pistons at home. Giannis gets ejected in the third, and the Pistons flat out went on a massive run to almost essentially win that game. Dame scores double digits in the fourth quarter to keep them in it. Big jumper from Brook Lopez, three to close it. They survived the scare. Now they go right on the road to Indianapolis right now. 3.5. Total sits at 242.5. I have no play here with the Bucks coming off a back-to-back. The total, what do we think about the total, Jay? 242.5 is a pretty hefty number, but this is also the best offensive team in the NBA in the Pacers.
Yeah, I'm honestly I'm not a strong total guy, but I do know that I'm not playing an under on the Pacers game. The Bucks hadn't been playing the best defense. They're on a back to back that has to travel. Both of them are on a back to back, but the Bucks had to come back and they have to travel as well. But
Right.
we know that Giannis played limited minutes because he got thrown out of the game versus the Pistons. But still, the rest of the team and Damian Lillard and Malik Beasley, I'll keep saying it, man. These two guys starting along each other. It's just not a great defensive front there. I mean, Halliburton would feast on these guys, man. I'm telling you that right now. He's gonna absolutely feast on these guys. But the Bucks have owned them for whatever reason. Won 9 out of the last 10 games, and that's even with the recent games with the Pacers being better. They beat them one time last year, 139-123. But for the most part, the Bucks have basically they've owned Indiana. So let's see. I mean, this is a really short line as well. The line is kind of telling us that maybe the Pacers might be, you know what
Yep.
I'm saying, a feisty
Yep.
underdog in this game. This is one of the best Pacers teams that they've had in a while. So it's a really small. I mean, let me see. Other than when they were laying -3, I bet you Giannis was out in that game. But what do you think in this? I mean, you know what I'm saying. What do you think, Sean? Does it make some sense though?
Yeah, I mean the total's gone over in 4 of the last 5 games for the Pacers. That's
Hmm.
one thing. Sometimes I always say this. Sometimes we try to get too cute, too sharp. There's no reason to put yourself in a hole or in a not. I shouldn't say a hole, but put yourself back up against the wall in an instant sweat trying to take an under in a Pacers game where they're going to be getting up shots 2, 3, 4
Especially in the
seconds into the
regular
shot clock.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's no reason. Find a different spot. Don't put yourself through that because I'm going to tell you this at 242.5, if it does come in under, it's 240. It's not coming in 225. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You're going to be in a grinder the entire way trying to fade and under. And I agree with you across the board on Tyrese Halliburton. As soon as Giannis went out, the Pistons absolutely took off. Dame Lillard had to pick up the slack offensively, and they had no answer for Cade Cunningham coming down the stretch offensively or defensively, excuse me. So Tyrese Halliburton with his game style as well, they're going to be confused. The big thing about Milwaukee's defense and the issue is they don't really know what they want to do. There's a lot of situations where Brook Lopez is kind of looking around in spots like, you guys want me to drop? Do you want me to help? What do I do? And by the time they figure it out, it's a bucket. So they are going to be
It's
in that
coaching.
position.
That's
Yeah.
coaching right there.
Yeah, Adrian Griffin is in for – he's got to get his boys settled and figure out how they want to approach the defensive side of the ball, because Tyrese Halliburton's going to have those boys confused quite a bit. This might be one of those games where, shout out our guy Joe Delaire, you just ladder up assists, you ladder up a PRA, where Tyrese could just go absolutely berserk here. 4 or 5 threes, 12 assists type night for Tyrese Halliburton. AC, how do you see it?
Yeah, there's a couple points I want to react to. First, Jay mentioned the line being a short favorite. That's when you kind of know it's a little trappy. If I had to bet, I would actually be leaning towards the Indiana Pacers, to be honest with you. And then the second thing, Sean, you mentioned it. It's not worth it trying to be like too sharp, especially in the regular season. We all know the regular season is a little more public. It's a little more simple, if you will. Playoffs, when the games actually matter. Maybe the in season tournaments are going to matter, but playoffs usually is going to be a lot sharper. That's when you see the dog kind of bark. But in this game, the over, man, it's tough to talk off of it, right? The Pacers are second in pace. I think the Bucks are sixth in pace. These are two teams in the top 6 in pace. If they hit their threes, you would expect that over to hit. Even though they're both teams on the second night of a back-to-back, I don't have an official play on this game. I do lean the Pacers in this game, and I agree. Like, if the Pacers are going to be competitive, it's because of Tyrese Halliburton. But then if you want to look at threes made, if you want to look at like PRA, look at guys like, Buddy Hield, look at guys at Benedict Mathurin, because they're going to get enough shots up there to really challenge this Bucks team, who hasn't really played any defense all season long.
We can leave it there. Friday, before we get out of here, we're back with the colorful courts, fellas. The in-season tournament.
God.
The in-season
Don't
tournament.
Get me started. Don't get me started. Don't get me started on those courts. The courts are horrible, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Don't
I
get me
tweeted
started.
out,
Good.
you have to watch the in-season tournament courts. You got to watch the games with sunglasses on.
Hell
Because
no. It's
you
horrible.
definitely got to deal with that. So yeah, the in-season tournament's back. There's a couple more matchups on the slate. 5 games tomorrow on that Friday. So be on the lookout for that. Highlighted by the Lakers and the Suns, who are both coming off losses. Or no, the Suns won in overtime against the Bulls, but the Lakers are coming off a big loss versus the Rockets. To recap, AC is on the Atlanta Hawks -2.5. Jay leans that way, but has no official play. I have no official play either. This is a too finite of a slate for me to just try to. I don't want to give you guys something I'm not fully backing, and I'm not printing a slip myself, so I'm not going to give out an official play. And that's buckets for the Wednesday. Always don't forget, or for Thursday, don't forget it. Go download the Action Network app, log your plays, read all the articles. All the guys are working hard throughout the week. Subscribe to Buckets, tell a homie to tell a friend, pass the link along. Go subscribe to the Action Network YouTube channel. Tons of more content information on there. And shout out our guys over at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. For AC, Albert Wynn, Analytics Capper. For J Money is Money. I am Sean Little. And don't forget, get buckets, baby. We'll see y'all tomorrow.